Ready, hunt!
Travis had mentioned that it was a bit of a wake-up call for the defense, the way they started and ended. Is that what you hope they take from it?
Well, hopefully, because I just think overall, last week, just overall as a team, we weren't as sharp as we had been, in practices. And so for whatever reason, that was the case. And then, a lot of it shows up in the game.
David had mentioned to us about you talking about how the 2000 team practiced. Can you kind of share with us what you remember about their work ethic?
Well, I talked just about our best teams here, not just them, got better through the year. Each and every week, regardless of who we were playing, it was more about us making improvement. And the guys were anxious to make improvement. And those better teams that we've had that we went through, had undefeated regular seasons, were that way. They were just very, I called them like robots, which I say it in a complimentary way, because they just had one way to practice, one way to play, and it was, and it was always pushing themselves to make improvement. And if we're gonna have any kind of year here, we have to do that. It's a long road, and the better teams get better, as you work through the year. So hopefully we'll make some strides here this week.
Was there a lack of emotion and intensity?
Well, you could say all of that, but at the end of the day, those are all just excuses. We didn't perform maybe up to our standards, and again, Missouri's a good team, and they made their share of plays. So we'll see if we can't make some improvement.
Are you surprised you're having to tell them that at this point?
Yeah, I told them that I was. I said this is. In my eyes, that was disappointing that we had a week of practice like we did, and at this point in the year.
What does Ball State do the best? What is their strengths?
Well, they've done an excellent job. When you look at here, they are 3-1 in their first year there as coaches, and from not having a great year the year before. So you can tell they got a lot of good chemistry going. I think their quarterback does a really nice job throwing the football. They're very balanced. They like to run the football, but they're going to, complement it with passing game. And defensively, structurally, they're very sound. Four-man front, strong, coverages, cover four. They'll blitz on occasion. So just structurally very good at what they do, and they make you work, defensively to beat them. But very sound schematically in everything that they do.
Will you do some prep work for Texas?
No, not at all.
You said the competition at backup quarterback would continue throughout the season. Can you update us on where those two guys are right now?
Let Coach Heupel can answer that. I see it very similar to the way it kind of ended, after two-a-days, where they're both making good strides, and they, take turns getting snaps in there, after Landry, and they both seem to be making good progress. But he'd probably answer that at this point better than I would.
Well, how does this Ball State team compare to the Bowling Green team of '04 that you played? I mean, is it hard to gauge?
Yeah, because of the new staff, and I didn't mean to cut you. It is hard to gauge because, again, Bowling Green, I think, came in with having more experience, in the systems they were running and with their coaching staff, and so I'm not sure how to really compare them.
The MAC's always good for an upset or two or three a year. Are they any different than any other team from a non-BCS automatic qualifying conference? Is there something special about the MAC that's going on?
Well, I think I say it a lot. I think in today's world, there's a lot of good football players everywhere. There really is. So they've got a lot of good players, and they're very sound and good at what they're doing schematically. So, sure, they're capable of that. Like you said, you see it from a lot of these teams every year.
Bob, there's still a lot of talk out on the street about Brandon Williams, wanting to see him, and I know we asked you that regularly, but this is a
On
game.
to him instead of Roy Finch this week, or?
Well, this is a game that.
Guys, everybody got their favorites, you know?
The experts think that you'll win by a reasonable margin.
Well, I don't know
Is it
about
fair-
experts, so.
Well, is it fair to say if he doesn't play this week, that he will not play the rest of the year?
No, I wouldn't say that's at all fair to say, and we continue to bring Brandon along. He's a great young guy that's working hard, and so we love him, and he's going to play as time goes, and he knows it's just being, you know, more and more reliable in taking care of the football and being assignment correct. You know, for instance, going back to Florida State, you know, to put some other guys in there, and they show in practice, you can get them lined up, or you can square a few things away, you know, before you snap the ball, because there's no clock. Well, there's all kind of noise. You could barely talk to the guy, you know, no one can hear you, so, and the clock's running, it's not the easiest thing to do. So it's only been 3 games, so we'll see where it goes, but we fully intend to play Brandon, and you know, so hopefully he'll continue to practice in a way that we know we can count on him.
Coach Venables said last night that yesterday or last week was the first bad practice that you guys have had since fall camp started last week for the Missouri game. As a coach, how do you identify that, and what do you do after a bad practice? As a coach, what do you do to get them to?
Well, you identify it by seeing guys that are making mistakes that you've covered, that they should know, that you have meetings and you have certain things you may have covered the day before that they should have down by now, and then they don't. So you could tell they're just either not paying attention or whatever, or you know, the effort that they're going at. So it's easy to identify, and then you alert them to it. You know, I said something to them in the midweek too, just as a team, that I could tell we weren't, you know, as on edge or on point as we had been, you know, in the previous few weeks. And so, but it's like I told the players, I don't play. There isn't a coach that's ever made a play. At the end of the day, it's you, and you either, you know, you're the ones that make plays or don't. And so, you know, hopefully they'll take ownership of that and take some, you know, responsibility for playing well or not.
Get all concerned? You would think maybe that would happen the week of Ball State as opposed to Missouri. You know, who you're
Well,
playing.
no matter when it's happening, I don't, you know, it hasn't been a trademark of the better teams we've had. So hopefully that won't, you know, happen again.
How did they respond yesterday in practice?
They did well. I was very pleased with yesterday's practice.
Dominique Whaley's getting a lot of attention, but you have other walk-ons. In the modern era, you can't have walk-ons unlimited like the old days. What is the process of a kid really saying, I want to show up here, and you guys saying, yeah, you can be a guy that joins our program?
Yeah, we get a lot of requests, and they're filtered through Coach Merv Johnson, and a little bit, you know, just he kind of pays attention and to the requests. Here's this guy, and then he disperses it to the position coaches to watch and to see if they're guys that, you know, that the position coach, you know, feels, hey, he's a guy that he's not going to walk out here and get hurt. You know, I mean, there's a bunch of them that would get hurt in the first day. So it's one of those, can he really contribute and help? And so, you know, we just, you know, through the recruiting office, that here's a request or here's people looking to do it, and then give it to the position coach to determine whether it's a guy that we'd, you know, give a chance to come in.
So it's almost like a competition, the handful of spots, the kids that come in, who's the best?
Sure, we want better guys and guys that we feel can end up playing.
If you have a Dom Whaley story, does that create a spike in those requests?
I would think so, but you know, we've had guys through the years. I go way back to our first year here. Roger Steffen and Corey Heineke, they were great players for us. Anyway, I don't know, Bubba Burcham, I guess, but he was put on before I got here. But
Bob, what's the most optimistic time frame on Hayburn bringing him back if he were to play guard? What's realistic there to be
yeah, to
optimistic?
play guard somewhere 4 to 6 weeks. And it's because of I guess the bone, the rotation of it. So it isn't like sometimes you could protect something if it didn't have anything to do with the rotation of the wrist, then he could go probably earlier. But that's why it's going to take at least that long to play to play guard, and then they think 6 to 8 to snap. So, so they're, you know, just a little unsure, but again, I think everything determines how guys heal and as they, you know, watch it progress.
How's he doing emotionally with him? Because he's such a leader and a spiritual
Yeah,
guy.
he'll be back. I mean, you know, he's a strong, great leader, you know, so he hasn't been able to be around yet, but he will be.